Are you waiting for a refresh of Canon's cinema line? Perhaps the C70 Mark II? Or what about one of those swappable 8K censored cameras? Well, stick around after this short message for all the details. But first, subscribe to this channel for a chance to win a Canon EOS R5. I'll be giving one away to one lucky subscriber once this channel reaches 100,000 subscribers. Anyone above the age of 18 with a valid mailing address is eligible. Additional terms and conditions are linked in the description down below. Canon Rumors finally has an update for us on cinema cameras this morning, saying that we don't get as much chatter about cinema EOS products as we do about photography or hybrid focus products. But when we do, they tend to be fairly accurate. It looks like 2024 will also see Canon finally move forward with new cinema EOS products. And one camera that has been mentioned recently is a smaller version of the cinema EOS C70. Yeah, that's right, a Mini C70, not a C70 Mark II. We don't have any specifications, we don't have any dates, we don't have any pricing. We just have a little bit of a teaser saying, don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you. We do have a cinema camera coming in 2024, and it's going to be a Mini C70. Yeah, okay. I'm not too excited about that. At first, I wasn't going to do a video, but I did want to do a video today, and I wanted to go into behind the scenes and more on that later, but it was an opportunity to talk about, well, cinema cameras. You see, while rumors of upcoming cameras such as the R5, the R6 Mark II, the R8, the R7, and a whole bunch of lenses have been bang on, and Canon Rumors has been doing a terrific job, when it comes to sources about, well, cinema cameras, they have been anything but, well, accurate. I mean, do you remember this? This was a leaked product footage from several years ago indicating that we were going to get some 8K cinema cameras. And then Canon Rumors posted a story, and this is way back in September of 2021. We were supposed to get these at NAB, but we didn't. And they were two 8K cinema cameras, a C70S and a C500S, and they can both do 8K. Now, one of them can do 8K Super 35, and the other 8K full frame, both doing 8K 60 frames per second and 4K 120 with a BSI stacked DGO sensor and 16 and 17 plus stops of dynamic range. And a new 4K cinema camera with a staggering 20 plus stops of dynamic range and capable of going up to 240 frames per second, also with a backside illuminated stacked DGO sensor. So when it comes to cinema cameras, the rumors haven't been all that accurate, at least in terms of time. Now, we don't know if these two 8K cinema cameras with 16 and 17 plus stops of dynamic range are real, or the 4K cinema camera with up to 20 stops of, wow, just hold on a minute here. Just imagine that, 20 stops of dynamic range. James, what do you think? 20 stops of dynamic range? I mean, most cameras today are what, right around 13, 14, 15 stops of dynamic range? That's pretty good for most cinema applications, isn't it? What would you do with 20 stops of dynamic range? It's pretty impressive. So we've got some pretty bold cameras that are rumored to be coming out from, well, Canon, and they do look impressive. I'm pretty impressive. But to actually forecast that these are coming out over the next 6 to 12 months, it's one of the things we like to do in the Ordinary Filmmaker is forecast what we can expect to see. And we are definitely due for a refresh of much of Canon's cinema EOS line. But in terms of any credible information, it's completely absent. So I wouldn't get too excited about, any cinema cameras coming out, at least not this one. And even Canon Rumors themselves has this story rated right there, a CR1. And even Canon refers to them as a source. It's not a well-known, it's not a trusted source. So there may be some noises in the wild, but I wouldn't get too excited about any sort of cinema updates, and that's kind of sad. I was really hoping to see something at least in this year. We have had some nice releases, but for Canon, 2023 has been a bit of a sleeper. But 2024, that is where things are supposed to happen. And the first quarter is definitely dedicated to, well, the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, the Canon EOS R1, and a whole bunch of RF lenses. Could we get some sort of announcement in the second quarter at NAB? Well, it's certainly possible. Could there be enough reason for me to go to NAB in 2024? Well, that's also possible as well. And that's where I'm going to transition into behind the scenes. I want to tell you guys a little bit of an update. Now, I want to take us back to my very first video. Take a look, bear with me for a few seconds here. Today's video is about why I'm still using the Canon 70D in 2019. This is a 6-year-old camera. Came out in 2013. We've seen a lot of advances in the last year and a half alone. Sony's been significantly improving their cameras. The A7 III, the A7 IV. That's pretty awful, isn't it? Yeah, that was my first video. What led up to that video is I was watching one of Camera Conspiracy's videos. I've actually been binge watching for a month, looking for the latest Canon camera that I was looking at purchasing. And I watched, at this point he was still living in his mother's house. He had a partition. It was just a cardboard partition. And he was just doing a talking headpiece. And I thought, well, you know, how hard could this be? I could do the same thing. I could partition off part of my house, which I've done here. And that's not what I did in that first video. I was actually in my kitchen. I thought, this looks nice, not really paying much attention to the audio acoustics. Whereas this studio now is in my basement, where it's a large open area, but I've got a carpeted floor. It really absorbs vibration, so it's perfect for shooting. And so, you know, fast forward 4 years later, and I've been doing this for some time now, some 1,200 videos, I've made a big change. See, when I started this channel, it was all about growing. My goals were to learn how to use better cameras, to improve my filmmaking skills, to improve my presentation skills, my set design, all this stuff, audio. And looking back at that first video, which I encourage you to do after finishing watching this, I think it's safe to say that I have improved. And so one of the things I set out to do this year, because something happened, I don't know whether it was seeing basically what we pay for food pretty much double over the past few years, despite inflation being around 5 or 7%. And of course, the cost of everything else going up. I just recently had a car repair. It was $2,000. And it wasn't for an engine or a transmission or anything like that. It was just basic components. And labor made up $957 of that. So I think it was earlier this year that I realized, you know what, let's see if I can't just make a go at this as a business. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was finally incorporated. I've set up a corporation, federally incorporated, and this is now a business, and I'm treating it as a business. I have to track expenses and assets, purchases, all that sort of stuff. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal for me to actually reach that point. And as I look in 2024, I look at 2024 very differently now. And as the money comes in, they go into specific business accounts. So where I had segregated accounts before, I now have, well, these are actually registered with the government or registered with the bank as incorporated accounts, which is probably information is sent to the federal government for taxation purposes. And that it's a really big deal. So as I look to 2024 and I look at what's coming up, and you know, there's so much going on now. CP Plus, I was thinking of going to CP Plus, but there's really not enough time to plan. And if I tried to book a hotel right now and flights, that would probably be absolutely crazy. And to be honest with you, the way the information comes to me, my various sources, I would actually be able to respond and put out videos quicker, staying here in my home in Studio A than to go to Japan and hearing something and then having to get from the trade floor all the way back to my hotel or some quiet place where I can record a video. So it actually makes more sense to cover the show from halfway across the planet. But other shows such as NAB 2024, that, depending on what we expect to hear from Canon in terms of cinema announcements, might be an excellent opportunity, and for many reasons. One is to actually interact with people, to actually set up connections, to network. It's a really important part of this industry, and any industry is creating connections and networking. And to be able to go there and have all that expense to be able to be expensed against earnings, that would be a big deal, because I know that the first quarter is going to be a really big deal. November was incredibly profitable for this channel. I've never seen anything like this. It was a perfect storm of many things. We had the announcement of the 200 to 800 millimeter, which by far outsold everything else that Canon announced, the 10 to 18 and even the 24 to 105 f2.8. So that really, really helped. And then of course, one of the affiliate programs I was with had a Christmas bonus. And I didn't tell you guys about that because, well, I don't want this to be an influencing channel. I don't want it to be about driving revenue, focusing on just trying to get revenue all the time. And I do talk about it at the end of the video, but I want you to purchase from the camera stores that you want to purchase from. And if you purchase from Adorama, B&H or Amazon.com, then yes, please you might use my affiliate links. But if you also have access to small camera stores, I don't want to see those go the way of the dinosaur, the dodo more recently. I want to encourage you to shop at those camera stores. And even if I don't benefit in any way whatsoever, we all benefit by keeping those local camera stores alive. And even myself, I live in Canada and I have affiliate programs with major US retailers. I still buy locally from my local camera stores because I believe no matter how big I get, it's important to support local businesses, because I live and I work in these towns and I want to see my towns do well, my local area do well. And I think it's just an important thing. But for this channel to continue to grow and to morph, I'm not sure what 2024 is going to bring, but it's definitely going to be a focus on how do I make this a long-term endeavor. And one of the reasons for that is, in 7 years, in the better part of 7 years, I'm retiring. And I'm most likely going to move to Vancouver, to the mountains, to the ocean air. It just feels so much better, so much fresher. It's not dry in the winter like it is here. And this would be a perfect transition to move from my actual career job that I've been doing at this point for 20 years as an enterprise architect, to move out there and to have this as my gig job, this would be my part-time job, working 3 to 4 hours a day in the morning, focusing on everything camera. And I look forward to that, and it makes an awful lot of sense. And yes, I do have a small pension. This would add to that and allow me to live, how should we say, more without having to worry about every bill, every utility, or the rising cost of food. It gives us a bit more freedom, because when you move into your retirement years, money always becomes an issue. And so to have this as that retirement gig, that's something that means an awful lot to me. But there are some challenges. My day job, it looks like we're moving back to working less as a hybrid environment and moving back into the office more full-time. No one's made any dedicated announcement yet or announced anything, but from some of the language that I've heard recently, I think that's going to happen. So one of the things I have to do with this channel as I move into 2024 is I have to look at my focus, and I have to think of what am I going to cover? What are the major news and forecasted items that I want to cover? Obviously Canon for one, Sony and Nikon are also at the top too. And the types of cameras that I'm going to cover. You'll notice that yesterday I didn't cover the firmware update for the R50, the R100, the R7, the R8, the R10, the R6 Mark I, and the R3, and I think I left one out. And the reason I didn't cover it is I took a look at them. I did tweet it out, and that's one of the reasons to follow me on X. I did tweet out the information, but basically every single update said minor updates. That was one of the major points. And the other major point, well, was support for the new lens, the 10 to 18 millimeter. That was announced back on, November the 2nd. So I just thought, that's not big enough to do a separate video. So I'm going to do more things like that. For things that aren't big enough, I'm going to tweet them out. So definitely follow me on X. But all the major camera news and rumors from all the major brands, I'm still going to cover that on this channel. And I also plan to go out remotely. So I'm also very interested in your ideas and recommendations. When I first started this channel, I got a lot of recommendations about how I can improve my set, my audio, my presentation skills. And over the last few years, that's really sort of trailed off, telling me that telling me one thing is that you feel that I've kind of reached at a level where you don't feel you need to offer up suggestions. But what I'm interested in now is some of your business suggestions. What do you think I should do in terms of this channel, in terms of growth? What should I focus my coverage on? What do you look forward to mostly in this channel? And if you can let me know in the comment section down below, it's greatly appreciated. I don't always respond to your comments, and I don't always take your suggestions and apply them, at least not right away. Sometimes it takes months before I start to apply them. And there's a certain priority to what I do. I do enterprise architect this channel. I have an architecture definition document. I have goals and objectives. I have a vision for what I want out of this channel. But as I move into 2024, I'm looking at updating that, to revising it, and to taking a closer look at the business architecture of what I'm doing with this channel and what it means to me, but also what it could mean to you. And I'm really excited by the possibilities. So definitely drop your comments in the section down below. And again, if you are looking at purchasing camera gear from Adorama, B&H, or Amazon.com, then please use my affiliate links down below in the description. These guys right here. It really does help fund this channel. It's allowing me, and I've thought about this, what I'm going to purchase in 2024. It's allowed me to fund the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, the Canon EOS R1, and maybe a lens or two. And that's pretty bold. That's pretty big. And even I'm setting a goal to go to at least one trade show. I don't know what it's going to be. I'd love it to be CP+, but I don't think that's going to happen. That's so close. And with everything that's expected to be announced around that, I think I'm better served by staying in the studio. But let me know your comments in the section down below. And as we get ready for another weekend, I do expect that things are going to start to heat up with the Canon EOS R5, Mark II, and the R1 in terms of leaked specifications. I know there's a lot of frustration saying, look, if this is supposed to happen around CP+, February Q1 of 2024, then where is all the leaked information? And I hear you and I agree, but I can guarantee you the forecast is accurate. We are seeing an announcement of the Canon EOS R5 Mark II in Q1. And as far as the Canon EOS R1, well, that's looking like a slow tease. We're going to have some sort of announcement. We don't know if it's going to be some sort of marketing announcement, whether it's going to be some sort of development announcement. As far as the full-blown announcement, that could happen in Q1 or it could happen in early Q2. But if you're interested in the Canon EOS R1, as I certainly am, do expect some sort of teasing by Canon in the first quarter. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.